Hey, what's up, you guys? This is Ninjaxtx or Eric, depending on where you're seeing this video. All right, so welcome to the 11th video on my fifth round of philosophy videos. So lately, I've been doing a series of videos about turning your mess into a message. And ladies and gentlemen, there's no prevalent time that is more prevalent for that message than now. Um, I'm sure everybody's heard about the protests and the riots and whatnot because of what happened to Mr. George Floyd and several other uh, incidents of police brutality and just all around violence toward minorities, toward people of color, toward people of different religions, and the like. Um, I almost have I have no words for it. Now, what I can say is what this video is about: turning your mess into a message. Okay, what happened to George Gray was a tragedy that didn't have to happen, shouldn't have happened. Uh, 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 it was an act of hate. It was a hate crime, if you want to look at it like that, because uh, what that police officer did to Mr. Floyd was out of hate. It wasn't out of self defense. It wasn't out of defensive tactics. We don't put you don't put your knee on somebody's neck unless you're meaning to kill the person. Now, and I've heard a lot of people say this in self defense classes that I've been in. Maybe he wasn't trained properly. Well, if he wasn't trained properly, why was the fool out on the street? If this officer was not trained properly, why was the fool out on the street? Why was he not back at the police academy learning something? This is this incident and all the other incidents are I'm trying to put this as nicely as I can. Or a form of terrorism. Okay, look at this. All right, the KKK, the Aryan Brotherhood, all that. Okay, they are terrorist groups. They're just domestic terrorist groups. Now, all right, and I'm gonna take this in. I'm gonna take this in. I'm not gonna take it from a political standpoint, but what I'm going to say is like this: if you put people in power that condone violence, that sanction violence, what do you expect to happen? Okay, When that violence happens, somebody somewhere has to stand up and say, this is enough, this will not stand. Now, protesters are trying to do that. Because the protesters are trying to do it peacefully. And a lot of people say, well, what's the difference between the protesters and the rioters? Okay, let me break that down. The protesters are doing it peacefully. They're doing everything they can to work within the system, to try to change the system. The rioters, well, they just see it as an excuse. They see tragedy as an excuse to go destroy things. If you destroy where you live, if you destroy where you shop, if you destroy where you eat, what are you going to do tomorrow after it's all done? If everybody has to be educated on what's going on, that's how we make change. Everybody has to be educated on what's going on. And it's not just talking about getting an education. It's actually going out there and talking to different races, talking to different religions. Because let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. It's not about the black race. It's not about the white race. It's not about the Asian race. It's not about the Mexicans. It's not about any of that. When you divide people by that, you divide people. Period. We are all one. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I'll say it until somebody listens. We are all one race, and that is the human race. But you have people that use the evil that is done to feed their own political views. You have the good people that are trying to do right that are painted as doing nothing. You have people that sit back and do nothing because they see what's going on and they don't have a problem with it. Well, if you don't have a problem with it, you're the problem. If you're not part of the if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. Now, what is the solution? It's sitting down, it's talking, it's figuring out what we can do so that the police don't see targets on their back and the black men, the black women, the minorities don't have targets on their back as well. Because if you look at it, and let me preface this, I grew up in a law enforcement family. But however, I also understand that if you see an injustice, you do what you can to right it. That's the That's the point of being, to me, that's the point of being in law enforcement. You see an injustice, you do what you can to right it. You don't add to the problem. And what this officer did with George Floyd, what a lot of these officers do out there, and I'm not talking about the good officers because there are good officers out there that are trying to do what's right, trying to defend the defenseless, trying to help the helpless. I'm not talking about every single law enforcement officer. I'm talking about the ones that know they're corrupt and nothing is being done. We see you. Now, and I'm going to get back to one thing in a moment, but I want to cover that right quick. There are corrupt officers in law enforcement. How do we get them out? Quite simply, you got to check into their backgrounds. You got to sometimes you got to do psychological tests. Sometimes you got to do you have to do whatever you can to make sure you're serving the people. And the thing about law enforcement's motto is protect and serve. That doesn't mean protect and serve white people. That doesn't mean protect and serve only black people. That means protect and serve everyone. And if you, everyone, regardless of race, creed, color, any of that. But when you use the power that you have to break, to literally break people, to break the backs of a community, to break the backs of a nation, that's corruption and it's terrorism at its highest form. So there has to be criminal justice reform. There has to be uh, defensive tactic reform. Uh, we have to make sure the innocent are protected. Bottom line, we have to make sure the those that call law enforcement are not fearful of what are not more fearful of what law enforcement will do than they are of the criminal that they may be uh, trying to get away from or whatever. That's why a lot of communities will not call law enforcement because they're more afraid of what the police are going to do than they are the criminal element that is around them. And I, it's wrong. Okay, now getting back to my point about the looters and the rioters versus the peaceful protesters. And I said this to a friend of mine this morning when I was having a chat with her. The peaceful protesters are doing whatever they have to do to remain peaceful, to not cross that line and hurt others. Now, however, The rioters and the looters had no other purpose than to come in there, incite the riot, and then where were they? They weren't. A lot of them won't get caught up with because they hit and they run. They're insurgents. That's right. I use that term. The rioters and the looters are insurgents. They get inside a peaceful demonstration. They do what they can to disrupt it, and then they go. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is drowning out the cries for justice. That's the riots and everything are drowning out what the peaceful protesters are trying to do. Uh, I had another friend of mine that posted on Facebook yesterday, I believe it was, um, that the civil rights the civil rights movement was being pushed back because of what the riots are causing. Yes and no. The civil rights movement is pushed back because of, yes, what the rioters are doing, but it's also pushed back when people power take people in power take the laws that are in place to protect us, meaning people, minorities, or other races. When you have people of power repeal those laws, it, it gives the haters, it gives the insurgents um, the okay to say, put my foot on somebody's neck, or take somebody's life just because I don't like the way they look and get away with it. Is it right? Hell no. But how do we change that? We change the people that are in power. How do we change that? We get out and we do what we got to do to make sure that our voices are heard. How do we do that? We vote. We vote the people out that shouldn't be in power. We take the power and give it to those that are trying to do right. We got to make sure our voices are heard so that the riots can stop. The violence can stop. And I want to cover this too. You have a lot of people, and this is what's funny to me, or not funny, haha, but funny messed up. You have people that use a bastardized version of patriotism, a bastardized version of patriotism to, again, condone evil acts against people of the human race. That's not patriotism. Patriotism is standing up for your country and make sure it's built on a foundation of peace. It's not ripping away at that peace. It's not taking somebody's life just because they don't agree with what you believe. I And y'all know I'm a big proponent of self-defense. Y'all know I'm a big proponent of being armed. Especially ones that know me know that I'm a big proponent of being armed and able to protect yourself, regardless of what race, color, creed, religion, whatever you are. Everybody has the right to protect themselves from those that mean to do you harm and those that mean to cause evil. Peacemakers do not, say this again, peacemakers do not condone evil in any way, shape, or form. If you're trying to keep the peace, if you're trying to make peace with your enemy, okay, let's do that. But don't don't use the laws that are there to protect you as a means to oppress another race. Because, like I said before, when you look at it, we are all one race, and that is the human race. I do not. I can't. I I cannot stress this enough. It hurts me when I say things like this. It hurts me when I see people cut down in the prime of their lives, cut down before they can see the future. And I'm gonna go ahead and say this. This is not about what we do now, and I've said this before in other videos. I may have said it last week. I've said it so many times. But what we do now is not for us. It's for the upcoming generation. What kind of legacy are we leaving behind for our kids, for our grandkids, etc.? Are you leaving a legacy of hate or are you leaving a legacy of peace? Do you want them to live in a world where there's constant battles? Or do you want them to live in a world of peace where you can say, hey, brother, I'm here to help. Hey, sister, I'm here to help. Just tell me what you need. Or do you want them to be constantly afraid of reaching out to help others because they don't know where they're going to get shot? They don't know where they're going to get a boot put on the back of their neck. They don't know where they're going to get dragged behind a truck. This thing, we got to make this world better. We got to make this world better. And I've said this in another video that I did on my personal Facebook. My mom always told me, once you know better, you do better. Well, it's not enough to know better. It's not enough to do better. We got to teach better. So we have to know better, we have to do better, and then we have to teach better. Bottom line. All right, y'all. I will say this. Please keep everybody in your prayers out there that's protesting. Just protesting, not rioting. Everybody needs to be in prayer for this. But the rioters, y'all got to stop it because it ain't doing nothing but feeding the haters and giving them more ammunition to look back and say they're doing exactly what we wanted them to do. Now it's time for us to swoop in and increase the hate. Because if you look at it, the hate is increasing because of what the rioters are doing. The hate is increasing because you have evil people going back to the insurgents. You have the insurgents getting in there, whispering in somebody's ear, maybe affecting their train of thought, and then the hate grows and grows and grows and grows and grows until it's exponential. Then you have the people that sit back and do nothing because they want the world destroyed, because they want to rebuild it their way so they can reap the benefits of what this country was built on. So the poor can get poorer, the richer can get richer, and they can oppress us as a human race. That's not right, y'all. We gotta come together and we gotta do something. It's just not, and we can't sit back and watch it because if we sit back and watch it, the evils are sitting back and watching it, and they're saying, "Oh, well, look at what those people are doing. Look at what we told you they would do." They don't have the power over us unless we give it to them, and we give it to them by acting fools. We give it to them by taking others' lives unjustly. So yeah, let's do what we can to increase the peace and just feel like I'm doing these videos too much, man. Yeah, and I probably am because this is the world we live in now. How do we heal the world? How do we change it? You listen, you speak, and you keep speaking until you heard. But you don't speak with violence. You speak with a loud voice of love. Because if you look at it, hate can be drowned out by love. Negativity can be drowned out by positivity. But we've got to have the leaders that will lead by example. Not that'll sit back and watch everything happen and then say, oh, well, that's just those kind of people. They don't represent this nation. We gotta come together, y'all, and we gotta come together as one world, one love. Thank you guys for watching. I hope that made sense. I hope it touched someone's heart. I hope that made someone think about what they may be doing in life. Peace, take care of yourselves and each other. One world, one love. If you guys have any questions, comments, or requests, please send them to my YouTube account if you're seeing this on YouTube. If you're seeing it on Facebook, you can drop a comment down below. If you're seeing it on Twitter, you can drop a comment down below, or you can retweet this video, or just send me a message. Anytime y'all want to talk, and I can help y'all in any way, I'll do that. All right. So y'all know how to get a hold of me. I will see some of y'all from my Chairbound Disclaimer series video tomorrow. Um, but this gotta stop, y'all. We gotta stop before we destroy the world, because then we're not gonna have a place to live. Thank y'all for watching. Goodbye for now.